Hello there, I'm the student, and in this video I'm going to show you a better version of Castile, and that is mainly because of crazy national ideas that are hidden behind a country tag that doesn't exist in 1444 and that you also basically never see in the game. We are going to get to that in the end. These national ideas are crazy strong and way stronger than ones that Castile or Spain have usually. But to start that off, we start as Castile because I'm talking about a releasable nation, which is Asturias. But we're going to go over the ideas in a second. First of all, the question is, what is the most efficient way on releasing a country tag and playing as that country tag, of course? And yes, it is nation ruining, but in a smart way that actually allows me to get 14,000 ducats as Asturias only 2 years into the game. So you're going to see how that works. Let's get started. And first of all, it is time for the rivals. Of course, you want to choose people that normally would like to ally Castile, so for example France and Portugal in this case. I'm also going to take Morocco because they are like the friendliest ones of these rival options, because that way Castile has basically only enemies around them, and therefore it will be way easier to become independent, and you can already basically decide what allies you want to have as Asturias data, because by rivaling France, for example, it is very likely that you're going to get them as an ally once they support your independence, of course. Next thing is that I want to save money, and for that I'm going to delete all of my force, also delete all of my cavalry, because I don't really need that for anything. Also, I'm not going to delete my navy. Instead, I'm going to bring that to the Mediterranean Sea, and then I'm going to sell all of these ships. Believe it or not, if you sell it to many different people, this is around like 200, 300 ducats that is this navy worth, actually. On top of that, you can of course do a little things with your crown land. Take, for example, the mana, 2 mana privileges I would recommend, because if you sell after that, it is way more money that you get from selling titles, almost 700 ducats. So there we go. You want to have the burghers super loyal, so I'm already going to give them a few privileges. Also, the control over monetary policy for interest per annum, you're going to see in a second why. As well as very important are the burghers' monopoly rights and the burghers' bookkeeping promotion, because these are both, first of all, the bookkeeping actually reduces interest per annum, and the burghers' monopoly rights instantly completes the estate agenda, which gives them more loyalty, and the decision itself also gives them more loyalty, which means that you can get the burghers super loyal, which increases the interest per annum that you get from the bookkeeping privilege. Also, the nobility can, of course, increase all the states' loyalty equilibrium on burghers as well. So yeah, I'm just going to let this run out for the next 2 years, and then I'm going to do the diet and click the decision. In terms of advisors, you want to focus on admin and also get a level 2 admin advisor, ideally a inflation reduction guy and a trade efficiency guy, because you can of course trigger radical reforms, which would mean that you could just develop your Asturian lands a little more. That is also why I would recommend to just hire a level 2 mill advisor as well, just to have a little bit more development later. And that's literally all for now. I'm just going to sell my ships and wait for the admin points that I need. You're going to see in a second for what. You can see after selling all of my ships, I have now 950 ducats already in my treasury. And I can get the Infantes de Aragon disaster done, which is just fight these rebels. Of course, I'm not going to lose stability. Why would I? Just fight 14 nobles in Cordoba. And then after I siege that down, because you can see it gets occupied, you can see that's it with the struggle, the Infantes, and It is loading again, but yeah, whatever, some manpower doesn't really matter, and a mission that I think also doesn't really matter. So yeah, whatever. And now you can see 1.5 years after the start, it is now time to play as Asturias. And for that, the big sellout of my country starts. First of all, I think I can reduce autonomy in some places. One place, okay. And now what I can do, of course, I want to get as much money out of my country as possible. And for that, you can see right now, I can take 52 loans. Once I get the diet, more loyalty for the burghers, choose the burghers' agenda, and also complete this decision over here, that after a day also completes the agenda. That means that now the burghers are way more loyal than before, and that means that after a month tick probably, it needs probably 1 month. No, okay, it is at least 2 more loans that I can take. Anyways, I'm just going to do that real quick, but before I do that, I can also take monopolies for the instant money that they give. Just like that, and I think the clergy also has, yeah. And now I'll take all loans that are possible to take. That's it, there we go. We have already 9,000 ducats in our treasury. Now it gets a little bit interesting. I have, of course, the relevant admin power that I need, but also the other mana, I don't really need them anymore. So I can just develop a few provinces over here. So let me just take the encouraged development on the trade center over here maybe. And yeah, update the trade center a little bit. Just like that. I think, yeah, maybe one more in my capital. My future capital, of course. And I think I can also upgrade the harbor. So there we go. That's already done. Now I want to release another nation first, which is Galicia. And of course I'm going to exploit them before I release them. And actually I'm going to exploit literally every province except these 3 Asturian core provinces. Okay, that gave me another, 400 ducats or something, so that's great as well. And now I'm going to release Galicia, and I'm going to feed them every single province that I own that is not Madrid or one of the Asturias cores. Halfway through, I've basically lost half of my country now, which means that I can take more loans. You can see instead of 54, I can now take up to 65. Of course, they are also a little bit smaller, but I can take a lot more money that way. And if I let 1 day pass, I think, yeah, it should even update. You can see now I can take 103 loans of 77 ducats. So I'm going to do that, of course, as well. Already almost 14,000 ducats in the treasury. Another round of loans, just 1 day to update. Now it's 50 ducat loans, but I can take another 50 of them. So it actually makes a huge difference. The only thing that this will cost me later as Asturias is the inflation that it takes. And that's why I'm going to stop here at 16,000 ducats. I think that's more than enough. From now on, I think the inflation money ratio is no longer really efficient, and therefore I'm just going to finish feeding Galicia all of the provinces that I don't need anymore. And now do the entire trick of how to transfer most of that money towards Asturias. And part of that trick is first of all to increase the autonomy, which I'm going to do in Madrid by, just unstating and restating that, which gives it 90% autonomy. And I'm going to do the same thing also on Tenerife over here, which I can even get to 100%. Same also goes for Madrid. And now I can move my capital to the province of Madrid, which still, as long as I'm not on pause, as long as I'm not running a month tick, it will be at 100% autonomy. And I can now give my last province of Toledo away to Galicia as well. I'm going to keep my army for now. One more thing. you should probably scornfully insult Austria so that they can't rival them or something. I've lost some prestige, so that's unfortunate, but otherwise you should definitely do that. And now it is the time to release and play as the nation of Asturias. And now have a look on our ducats in our treasury. 16.1k from Castile gets transferred into 16.1k of Asturias, and that is because basically the amount of the country autonomy based that they get is also calculated for the treasury. And as all the other provinces have literally 100% autonomy, the game calculates it as if I haven't just given up my entire country and therefore also my entire treasury to the newly released nation. And that is now me playing as Asturias in 1446 with 16,000 ducats in the treasury. Now, they will probably lose the French rivalry or something, but I think nonetheless it is no problem whatsoever to get independent from Castile. It is very possible that Castile is going to give up Galicia and ourselves, if they have the prestige, of course, if we are illoyal. So probably we don't even have to fight an independence war, or you can just ally Galicia, which should actually be possible, and then they declare the war for you, so you don't have to pay the stability cost of that CB. But anyways, what are the advantages, and why did I say that this is the better version of Spain in the beginning of the game? Now, if you have a look at this country, you're going to notice, first of all, I can choose my government reform freely. I just go for elective monarchy. I would have switched to elective monarchy probably in a Castile game anyways, because it's just overpowered rulers that you get from that. But of course, I'm saving 50 reform progress like this. On top of that, I'm starting with 100% crown land, which means that even after I give out all of the mana privileges, I should probably wait like 1 day, yeah, you can see. But even after it updates, of course, but even after I give out all of the mana privileges, then seize land, you can see I'm almost at 50% crown land just from the beginning of the game, okay? And Castile actually has a very big problem with their estates, because they also start with a specific estate privilege that they can't get rid of. So yeah, it is really a bigger advantage than you might think it would be. Of course, after a month tick, I would also be able to sell titles for some more ducats. Now, on top of that, you have the generic mission tree, which you might think is a bad thing, but you have to think about it the way that it is an additional mission tree, okay? So you will be able to form Spain, of course, right? Militarily, after you just conquer all of the provinces that are shown right there and have admin tech 10, which will happen around 1510, okay? So in around 60 years already. These first 60 years of the game, you have time to complete the generic missions. And you might think they are bad, and they are kind of bad if you have them the entirety of the game. But with the prospect of gaining the Spanish mission tree, the same mission tree that Castile has from the beginning of the game, as well, once you, reach Tech 10, this actually is just like an add-on, right? It is just more that you get. And these modifiers are not that bad, man. Like if you, for example, see the high income over here for construction cost, construction time, a cheaper advisor, which is also really underrated in the early game. Same also over here, by the way, Diplo rep for better allies and a cheaper advisor as well for Diplo and for admin. If we go down that tree, you can see 50 admin mana, yearly inflation reduction, corruption, so more money basically. Of course, the manufactories will be kind of hard to get, but if you get them, you also gain a lot of money from that, as well as some production efficiency. Over here, you gain 100 Diplo power just for having 2 subjects, which you probably want to have anyways, right? And you gain even an admiral over here, and very interesting, you can create a level 2 center of trade with this mission over here just by having 75% trade power in Sevilla, which within 60 years should be very doable. Also, if you want to play for the last one as well, where you need 3 different trade company regions, which is also possible if you consider Safi, Tunis, and then maybe Alexandria or something, right? Then you also gain an explorer for free without taking exploration ideas. Over here you gain, morale, claims, and then more claims, even development, more construction costs, military points, which is actually very doable. I think this one is no longer really doable in 60 years. But even until that point, you basically get all the claims you need to conquer all of Iberia very easily. The biggest downside is, of course, that you start way weaker in terms of your force limit, manpower, and so on. Also, you, of course, can't get the Iberian wedding, and you can't really get the Portugal PU that early. You can leave Portugal, and you can actually ally Portugal, and then conquer Aragon and click the mission once you form Spain, and then PU Portugal, which is very possible. At that point, you have a very strong colonizer as a personal union, which is pretty nice as well. So I wouldn't say the Portugal PU is a downside, honestly. Because if they are independent, they are colonizing much faster. But on the other side, you have a compensation for that, which is 16,000 ducats that only costs you 15 inflation, which you can get down easily with the bookkeeping thing and so on, right? So yeah, you have to decide what is more worth, being stronger in the early game or having 16,000 ducats that you can of course invest in your country to become stronger. So I think it is kind of similar, honestly, but the biggest thing that Asturias has to offer compared to Castile or Castile into Spain are their national ideas. Look at this beautiful set of national ideas. You already start with 1 missionary and 1 merchant, especially the merchant, of course, is very nice in the early game. And you immediately get on the first national idea set negative 15% province war score cost. And the interesting thing why this is so crazy broken basically is that this is war score cost even against your own religion. Okay, so normally if you stack province war score cost modifiers, most of these modifiers are versus other religions. For example, the Malta 4, of course, gives war score costs versus other religions. Now, if you want to stay Catholic, often that is kind of a problem because you don't have that much war score costs on France, for example. If you just think about this 15% over here, that counts for every nation in combination with diplomatic ideas that does the same thing, then you already have negative 35% war score cost versus everyone. And that is without even conquering Malta, which you can easily do, and without going a theocracy or something. So this is a really very, very strong national idea, and you will find it very, very rarely in the game. I think only like 5 or 6 nations in the entire game have war score costs in their ideas. Then we're talking about tolerance of the true faith, which is essentially unrest, especially in combination with the missionary and also the missionary strength over here. So this is actually a perfect nation to play a religious unity run, maybe even a one faith run, because you gain 1 missionary, you gain missionary strength to convert, and you also gain negative 2 unrest in all of the provinces that you converted. Then we just go on with 1 diplomat. I mean, it is just 1 diplomat flat, and I think most people don't really understand how strong one diplomat extra can be, whether you want to do heavy conquest-focused games where you have to recall and resend diplomats a lot of the time, or whether you want to do a very diplomatic game where you want to maybe improve relations a lot and so on, is a really strong national idea for sure. And also a very, very rare one. Only very few nations have a diplomat in their ideas. Next one comes the colonist. One additional colonist that actually is also in the Castilian ideas, but in combination with all of the other ideas, missionary strength, diplomat, war score cost, and a colonist. I don't know what you want, but this is the perfect nation to do a world conquest and one faith with. Last but not least, we also finish off with some autonomy change, goods produced modifier, 10%, and 15% national manpower modifier. So also a little bonus to the army, but of course in single player the army is way less important than, for example, multiplayer. So I wouldn't really count too heavy that it doesn't have discipline or something, because the manpower and all of the other stuff combined is really keeping up with that. Anyways, I've talked a lot already for this video. I just wanted to show you this interesting option. And by the way, it even has an achievement, a unique achievement, where you have to play as Asturias and create a holy order in the room state that you can see over here in the Ottomans. So if you want to go for that, of course, that would be the perfect run to do it, with the perfect strategy to do it, as the 16,000 ducats will help you in the early game a lot. I hope you enjoyed this talk about Asturias and their hidden gem under the national ideas, and we're going to see, as always, on another Monday.